How do trees allow us to passively engage with the MMO worlds we inhabit? In this series, we take a look at some of the hidden gems we pass by as we strive to complete our daily goals. By spending 10 minutes considering the individual elements that make up games, I believe we can increase our enjoyment as we rush unapologetically through on our raptors. Let's go through the list together and think about what these examples can tell us. First up, 10. Number 10 is this prickly fruit tree in Draconis Mons. I honestly didn't expect this as I came to Draconis Mons for some of the weird mega plants that grow here, but almost at the entrance to the zone, this tree sprouts from the ground. It is small and bear these prickly orange fruits. It also has this lovely green pattern, probably from a creeper vine choking it as it grows. I wanted to put this on the list immediately, and so I set out to find all the other ones in Draconis Mons that match. But I couldn't find any. This seems to be the only tree of its type in the entire environment, an oddity that fits in and stands out at the same time. Being sparse with the use of acid definitely adds to the feeling of a diverse environment, but I never expected to find something that only had a single acid like this. And what an absolutely lovely acid it is. It definitely deserves the spot as number 10. 9. Number 9 is the cherry blossom trees in Saitung province, or rather, this specific cherry blossom tree. Where most of them have this white and black bark like birch, this one has a monotone deep brown. It's just a splash more colorful than all the trees surrounding it, and especially as the Cantha color scheme is very bright, it lends more gravitas to this darker tree. Having multiple trees that are clearly distinct sorts, not simply differently shaped, is a level of detail that makes the zone feel more vibrant and realistic. That makes this blossom number 9. 8. Number 8 is the Tree of Many Faces in Inner Nyos. This clearly references the weirwood trees from A Song of Ice and Fire with its ashen appearance and blood-red growths and leaves. It's a striking landmark and something that helps Nyos feel otherworldly. It might seem a bit obvious, but no trees naturally grows faces like that, even in Tyria, a land filled to the brim with magic. Now, of course, the ambience of the zone itself helps play up the effect of the tree, but honestly, it's easy not to notice the faces when you're just looking for the lanterns or mastery points. It took me a couple rounds before I actually looked where I landed, and now I can't help but find it kind of funny that you land on the biggest nose of the tree to get the lantern. I imagine that it might have to sneeze and has to hold still while your activities tickle it. It's a pretty great set piece that is surprisingly subtle for its size. That's what lands this tree on number 8. 7. Number 7 is the blue blossom trees found in the Desolation and Skywatch Archipelago. I can't seem to find these anywhere else but the small planter boxes that grow in this desert village, as well as the fractal created clone that hovers in Skywatch. And I kind of feel like that's a shame, as the blue blossoms that are way more numerous than the tiny but vibrant green leaves makes for great contrast to the desert sand surrounding them. The lack of foliage also supports the story of a dry place where every drop of water counts, and it can't be exposed in large, thin leaves. This little contradiction between vibrant color and sparse foliage speaks to me in a way that is difficult to explain properly. Though these trees are a bit simple graphically, they really are a highlight to the environment when you see them as part of the larger landscape. And so, I've placed them as number 7. 6. Number 6 is this huge gnarlrooted tree in Mount Maelstrom. This is truly a landmark, with its roots reaching out and grasping the entire hillside, clearly having pushed stone itself aside to hold fast atop its peak. This is the exact opposite of the 10th place, which was an easy to overlook detail of the environment. This tree is impossible to overlook. At the same time, they are both single assets that aren't repeated anywhere. The canopy casts a large shadow over the entire zone, and the tree itself has twisted into an interesting shape to keep the best balance against winds and weather. And when placed in a zone with a name as dramatic as Mount Maelstrom, what else could one expect but trees that defy even the forces of nature themselves? Truly, this ancient warden deserves its spot as number 6. 5. Number 5 are the branded trees found in the northeastern part of Elan Riverlands. These trees are found among the crystals that signify the influence of the crystal dragon Kralgatoric. Most things he touches seem to begin glowing and crackling with his purple lightning. To see the more subdued influences at play as well is great. The trees are clearly still alive and growing as they sway in the wind. Surely if Taimi had noticed, she would want to investigate this phenomenon of elder dragon corruption on local plant life. Large lore implications could be inferred from the elder dragon of crystal affecting plants, which is the specific domain of Mortremoth, the elder dragon of plants. I love when details like this can be used to theorycraft about how the world works. Maybe this is something the developers will touch in the future, but with the Elder Dragon saga finished, likely not. We'll simply have to enjoy the detail put into not simply reusing dead tree assets, but imagining how living branded trees would look. This touch earns the branded trees a 5th place in my book. 4. Number 4 is the Greatheart Weald in Queensdale. Slightly sunken and hidden away, the bright red leaves of these trees are still visible, peeking over the hills surrounding them. They are vibrant and very different to the rest of the zone, which makes it visually appealing when you run into them. There are oak hearts around, which means this is some sort of druidic natural place of import, and the details put into the flowers in the trees, going from bright pink through deep purple and ending in white, is just such a great match with the saturated color scheme of the Weald. It's also visually striking with the larger oak in the middle, easily twice the size of the rest, which again, like the 8th place, invokes a feeling of a hard tree in a weirwood from the Song of Ice and Fire. Using a colorful patch of trees like this to break up the monotony of the zone is a great stroke of design and takes root as number 4. 3. The 3rd place goes to the pink flowering almond trees in Ozencrest Climb and Snowden Drifts. I believe it must be some sort of almond tree and not a cherry, as almonds can live in much colder temperatures than cherries. Though the gnarly branches might also make it one of those sorts of apple that can flower pink. Either way, the tree sort isn't what makes them stand out this highly on the list. That honor goes to their placement in the environment. Nothing like them are found in the zone except for around this path and in planter boxes inside the small keep at the end. Without any words, Guild Wars have given us a story of settlers bringing in trees from their home region to decorate their outposts. A little piece of home that can live in the Snowden Drifts. Maybe in many years, say in Guild Wars 3, these trees could have spread naturally to become a staple of the Drifts, an invasive species introduced to make a new environment feel more like home. I love this sort of visual storytelling. Even if the assets weren't as lovely as they are, it would still deserve the 3rd place on this list. 2. The 2nd place can be found in the snowy hills of the Bitterfrost Frontier. The huge evergreens that make up Griffon Old Growth are a masterpiece in size and perspective. You can see the trees at all the different stages of life. Some trees are as small as us, others are too high for your Springer to jump, and then there are trees that you have to look almost straight up to fully grasp the size of. Unlike the huge trees of 8th and 6th place, these don't seem all that unrealistic. They invoke the redwood pines of real life. Massive trees that can live for more than 2,000 years. This means that some of these majestic pines might date back to before Or became an independent nation in the first place. The care taking into placing them is clear as well. This isn't some neat plantation, but a wild forest. Some trees have fallen and lay there. Some grow in small clumps, where a pine cone might have spread its seeds. Large mushrooms grow on the side of these trees. More than any other entry in this list, the trees here have been made into the defining feature of the environment, and it works so well. Though, as we will soon see, some aesthetics are hard to beat. For now, the grandeur of these trees make them more than deserving of their spot as number 2. 1. There's really only one set of trees that could get the top spot on this list. These are the trees of Grothmar Valley. Whatever words about vibrancy, saturation, and serenity I might have used for the previous picks, they pale in comparison with this feast for the eyes. These are definitely many sorts of birch tree, some with the recognizable white and black bark, others with more subdued trunk colors, with canopies shining in different hues of autumn golden, bronze, and burnished, interspersed with the very scarce hues of a stubborn emerald green peeking through. There is an undeniable beauty to these trees. Some praise must also be given to the lighting and particle effects, the sun bursting through the canopies and the falling leaves glowing through all the colors of the trees behind them supports the sense of atmosphere of the Blood Legion homelands. The density of trees makes it feel like a forest, while the light has easy access due to leaves being concentrated high up in the canopies. This makes it feel safe and welcoming, a perfect place for a stroll or a picnic. I don't know about you, but nothing else could ever take this beauty away from its proper place as the top pick. Observing these 10 examples makes it stand out to me that the category of trees covers different types of objects. I've looked at landmarks such as the Tree of Many Faces, environmental filler such as the fall trees of Grothmar Valley, and unique flourishes such as the prickly fruit tree in Draconis Mons. There's a versatility to how trees are used in creating the landscape we move through and our view of that same landscape. Even very similar trees can give completely different feelings, from the bright colorful cherry blossoms in Cantha to the snow-laden blooming almonds in Snowden Drifts. What truly made me place something high on this list was environmental storytelling combined with the ability to catch the eye. When something was clearly out of place in the zone, it opened up investigation and thought. How did these trees live after being branded? Why do oak hearts make their local Weald deep red? Did the humans import these flowering almonds when they built their fort? The exception was when the execution of an aesthetic was so purely done that I could only marvel at it. The top pick, Grothmar Valley, is a great example. There were no specific questions I could formulate about it, but the story of a bountiful homeland pined for by every Char Legionnaire across Ascalon just clicked when those golden trees swayed in the wind. Now, trees are far from the only interesting asset I've noticed in Guild Wars 2. Why not watch this video about towns next? I'm fiddling with the format as I release these, so feel free to compare them and tell me which one you like better in the comments on either video.